hey.
Sorry, I'm responding to somebody about battle vests.
Battle vest.
Everybody needs a good pair of shoes, boots, and battle vest.
Yep.
Hell yeah. I posted there's this page, and it's like horrible battle vests or something. And everybody's posting their own battle vest and seeing like what happens, how it goes, blah blah blah. So I was like, screw it, let's do it. And so I posted mine, and it turns out everybody's liking it except for the manufactured distress marks on it, which I'm even responding to them going, I know, I don't even like it. I actually tried to cover it with patches, but I couldn't sew through it.
Right.
And they're like diagonal and weird spots, but they're like obviously manufactured.
It was done by ninjas.
Battle ninjas.
Battle ninja.
Battle ninjas.
And so like, but on the plus side, they're all like having a great time with it, and they actually like it. I told them, please disregard the fraying that I haven't like burnt yet.
Hey, Whitechapel.
Whitechapel! Pretending it's actually Whitechapel. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh.
I know you said you're not actually Whitechapel, but like,
yeah,
I'm still in my head pretending that you're actually Whitechapel.
All right. Welcome to You Can't Sit With Us, our season 4 finale.
Woo!
I am
Wow.
Hex's
I'm excited
Damon.
about this one.
Yep, that is Hickyaw Damon, and
Can you say
there is
right?
Mother de la Mort. I don't even say Morte right. I've been saying Mort the entire time.
Because she says Mort. So say it right.
Morte.
I mean mine,
Morte.
not her.
Okay.
Say my name right.
Hexas.
Yeah.
That's your name.
Hexas.
Hey!
Oh, today we're talking True Detective. Not the actual TV show, but we're talking about the FBI profile, serial killer profiling, not profiling.
Yes.
Profiling.
Behavioral analysis, all that really interesting stuff. I am so stoked about this one.
All for our last episode of the season.
Yay! I
is bringing up the notes right now.
I see Whitechapel's talking about Saucy Jack.
Saucy Jack.
Saucy Jack.
Wait, who was Saucy Jack again?
He's Jack the Ripper. Saucy Jack.
Wait, he was Saucy Jack?
Yes.
Yes.
Doesn't
that just sound sexy?
I want that outfit, babe.
Well, I mean, in his head, it was sexy what he was doing. He's getting the saucies all over the place. Is probably what he called it. All right, you governor, you're getting saucies, huh?
See, nowadays it's spicy. Back then it was saucy.
All right.
Saucy.
It's Tuesday.
Either that, he was drunk as shit.
Probably.
There they
Hit
are.
the sauce.
Jeez, that took me forever. Because whoa. That's big. Those are big notes.
Let me just pull my pants up here for a second. Sorry, didn't mean to. I'm just kidding.
Okay, I like where you're going with Whitechapel, London, and Jack the Ripper.
Saucy Ripper, I tell you.
How did we get saucy out of any of this?
Where do we see
Jack
Saucy
the Ripper? He's talking about Whitechapel, London, and Jack the Ripper.
I thought he typed the Saucy Ripper.
By the way, we were not on the comment side. Sven, somebody say sexy.
Guys, this is our podcast side of things, so you got to pay us now to bring up comments.
But hold on, I'm coming back to this. He's explaining that it's not Whitechapel the band; it's more like Whitechapel, London, Jack the Ripper.
Oh, it's so right.
But I still want to believe the band.
No, I want to believe you're in Whitechapel. Well, it's the same difference, right?
I want to believe the band.
The band was named after that.
I know that the band was named for the same exact reason.
I don't mind Whitechapel. I can listen to some of their stuff.
I dig.
I never got really too big into the brutal death metal.
I like
the
brutal death metal.
The gent.
Okay, I like.
I don't think they're gent.
I was gonna say they're not gent.
Nadine.
Richard Nettleton. Haven't seen you for a while. Nadine. I'm saying hi to people while we still can, okay?
Right?
Oh, that's what I'm doing. Ha. Guys,
You're ADHD right now, and
I'm going to X so we get more people on here. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
go get it. Enter the Thunderdome. Two
The
men enter,
Thunderdome.
one man leaves.
I threw up gang signs at the president. Can you tell him what you're looking at?
It's a picture of Eminem,
You can show it.
next to Ellen DeGeneres. Sorry. I thought somebody was saying that they looked alike and it was making me laugh. But it was another one of those, if Trump gets elected, I'm going to leave the country. Okay, fine. Bye. God, Jesus Christ. Shut the fuck up and leave already. Even if he doesn't get elected, just fucking leave, please. God.
I guess that would be the angry white boy and the angry white lesbian.
Dude, I heard she is an absolute
Oh,
nightmare.
she was a terror. No, it's not. It's not.
And you know, I
her.
used to really like her back when she used to like tour and
Oh.
do like
I'll-
comedy at the comedy clubs. I used to think she was so freaking funny.
Hey, it's the same with Will Smith. I would watch every single Will Smith movie, and I
Oh.
defended the shit out of him until he did that to Chris Rock, not Chris Tucker. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Hey,
this is terrible, man. I was like, and now I can't even watch anything with him. And the new Bad Boys is coming out, and I love that series. And it's like, I just can't. I don't like him anymore.
I saw a clip of that. It looks like it's going to be good, actually.
Uh-oh, I messed up.
Yeah.
I put it on the Ruth Lee Red Twitter. Whoops.
okay, I'm fixing this right now. There we go. All right.
Yeah, I think we're gonna-
Nadine, hey Kisa. Hey Sunshine. Hey Dizzy.
All right,
hello,
guys.
hello. Okay, so from this point forward, I am going to attempt to ignore the comments for a little while.
We have a lot to talk about.
I promise
here.
nothing.
Yes. And guys, don't forget our Patreon because we're going to go. I would like to like discuss how a lot of this applies to particular serial killers that they
Yes.
have caught. So don't forget our Patreon. Remember, you've got to go through the browser and use the full like internet URL for it. So
Yep.
just
Right there
add
at the
your.
bottom.
Because we are
Yep.
not safe for work.
We're not safe for work. Yeah.
We're
We
not
might-
safe for anything.
We might, in the future, you might see some full frontal hexes in there. I'll tell you
There's
that.
some full frontal Akya in there. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. I mean, seriously, I'm actually not lying. So go find out.
Do it. Do it. Do
There
it.
is some. Oh, hold on. Join.
Yep.
Look at that. You guys are on one of my pages so much
Huh?
that it just tells me join the feed.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
see all our Twitter buddies are in here now. So
That's what I was doing.
Dear God, that
Hey.
jumped up fast.
That's what makes life exciting. Hey, Tia. Hey, Henry. All right. And hey, Beth. We are done saying hi. I am going to put a little tag here at where we left off,
We'll get the comments here in a little
and
bit.
we will get to comments shortly. So I'm going to pull down that banner right now. Guys, write that down so that you can log into our Patreon and subscribe.
Or you
and
can
we
put it
will
on a
get-
scroll.
The scroll's difficult, okay?
What are you talking about?
Because you literally have to sit there and go,
for them to write it down. It keeps
Yeah.
moving.
Oh.
it keeps moving. Like how is that hard to
I
understand?
thought you meant like difficult as in like, I was like, you just put scroll right there on the tab.
Jesus.
And then it scrolls.
No.
I was like, it's not complicated.
Control.
So,
All right. I'm sorry. I am editing this. Whoa. Why'd that happen?
this is what happens in the background.
Yeah. I'm like missing parts of pages here.
It's okay. We're
Okay.
all,
Well, go ahead.
no,
I'm saying go ahead and
I-
start. I literally can't read this.
I don't. Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I was hoping that it starts.
Do you want me to take
Oh.
over for just a second?
Yes, while I fix this because I can't. I literally tried to make it smaller for myself.
Mhm.
It was like 72 font. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I'm just
All right,
fixing
so-
it real fast.
So we'll go ahead and start. So what we're talking about tonight is we're talking about criminal behavior and analysis, especially as it applies to like the behavioral unit with the FBI, and some of the things that I find so really like interesting when it comes to the psychology of of like serial killers and things along those lines. So I kind of wanted to start at least with my side of it because I know we're going to kind of go into like some of the things that they use as far as like, you know, DNA profiling and things like that. But I wanted to ask a question to all you guys, you know, that are listening, and maybe something to think about, and put your answer down in the comments. Even though we don't get to the comments as much during these podcasts because they do go over to audio as well. I'd still like to know what you guys think about it. So the question I would pose to you is, if a crime were to occur, which crime would scare you more, or should you be more concerned about? A burglary where items of value are taken and maybe the home is ransacked, maybe not, or should you be more concerned with a burglary where only personal items are taken? And that's kind of what we're gonna kind of get into tonight is like the psychology and how they now apply that to help catch criminals.
I'm more concerned with that damn Sasquatch stealing all the lunches.
And taking my
That's
Slim
what I
Jim.
That's what I want to know what's going on. We need to get an FBI task force on that.
I know, right?
But sir, someone died next to you. It's America, man.
This guy's last name looks like something out of Lovecraft.
What's his last name?
Monogden.
McNaughton. Oh,
If there's
McNaughton.
two-
The
Yeah, that
McNaughton. Yeah,
Yep.
McNaughton.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it looks like something straight out of Cthulhu.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the McNaughton rule.
I
little
want
bit
to call
later.
it the other way.
If there's a,
McNaughton.
Monognon.
so if there's two McNaughton,
Phenomenon.
would it be a
Oh,
McNaughton Twa?
Do what?
If there's two McNaughtons, would it be a McNaughton Twa?
Oh, McNaughton Dwa. All right, so the FBI reported in 2017 violent crimes occurred every 24.6 seconds in the United States, including a murder every 30.50 minutes, a rape every 3.9 minutes, and a robbery every 1.7 minutes. Not to be overlooked are property crimes, which were happening, at least at this time period, at an astonishing rate, which was every 4.1 seconds. So what drives individuals to committing such acts? It is their upbringing. It can be their mental disorder or perhaps even childhood trauma. To gain a deeper understanding of why offenders engage in violent activities, one must look beyond their motivations. Instead, analyzing their psyche becomes the key to unlocking what truly motivates them.
Yep. Edmund Kemper.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was gonna say his was Iramatio.
That's true.
Well, and you know, there was something I learned about Kemper that I found extremely interesting. I was talking to Akia about it one day in DMs, and I can go over that like when we get into Patreon, but
Oh,
just
yeah.
the psychological mindset that he had to have in order to complete what they call the fetish. So the fetish would be for certain types of serial killers, they have to achieve a certain state of being, whether that's the state of being of the victim or themselves, in order to be able to actually benefit from whatever their fantasy may be, or get something out of it, I should say.
You know, another thing I found out about Edmund Kemper, or at least like there's a theory about it. There's some people say he didn't get along with his mother. I don't know. There's
For the
I
record,
say that might be a very high probability. Well, you know, and he was asked in one of the interviews or something, I can't remember, because I've really been like just gobbling up like a lot of books on this, especially by what is his name? Not Hunter Douglas. Anyway, the guy that wrote Mindhunter.
Oh, I know.
He's got a whole bunch of books along with, was it Reisinger?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of the, you know, initial founders of the FBI's behavioral analysis unit. And he was asked, and I can't remember, like I said, if it was an interview or it was a book, why he basically raped his mother. And that's not how he saw it. He saw it as a way to punish her.
Mm-hmm.
John E. Douglas and Robert K. Ressler.
Ressler. That's what.
Those are the two FBI agents.
Yeah.
You know,
guys, real fast, guys. Everyone coming in here. We're doing our podcast again, so we get to the comments at certain intervals.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, just a reminder. So
don't get insulted if we're not responding. It has nothing to do with you personally. We are going to be putting this up audio.
Again, if you go to our Patreon though, and you give us money,
money.
I'll get to comments sooner. So you unlock the tiers for me to get to comments. If you give us a lot of money, your comments will come up the minute you say something. Okay? I promise you.
I do have a comment that I feel like we should get to though.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a good time to get to comments.
Whitechapel. So if the criminal takes the most personal items, it may be someone close to the victim and or a very deranged stalker.
Yes.
That was to answer the question that was posed at the very beginning.
Yes. And in many cases, and if not all, it would denote some sort of stalker element to it, and some amount of psychosis to a certain point, I guess. Because legal insanity and criminal insanity are kind of two different things, and that's we'll talk about that when we get to the McDonald rule. So
a movie that a movie that's a great
Obsession, yes.
A movie that would be a great response to that would be The Lovely Bones, because he shows that. He shows both of that, like the taking of the objects. Noticing something's just missing from your house. He did that in the movie.
So
then in the book, and it was like the book was more graphic than the movie, far more graphic.
I guess my answer would be that I would be more bothered by somebody taking something more personal, not necessarily because it was a personal item, but because it gives the person more detail about me. And plus they had to know how personal it was in order for them to grab it. And I'm not just talking to like IDs or something like that. Like IDs are obvious, but like if they take like a sentimental locket or something
underwear.
like that, or underwear, intimate items,
clothing, things like that.
Yeah, these are things that the person, as Whitechapel said, they could be somebody close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But also they have more knowledge than they should.
Yes. And you have somehow become their fixation.
Yeah.
It's like when the hamburger was
very dangerous.
Sorry.
When the hamburger, what?
He was stalking me one time because I had all the good burgers. He said I had the best buns in the world, and he said he couldn't let me go. Sorry. I told you guys I was here for jokes and only jokes. Terrible.
So for those out in our audience that don't know, so experts, when we talk about the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit, these are experts that work in a variety of cases across the country, and they normally cover anything from terrorism and cybercrime to violent crimes against children and adults. And if you're not familiar with whether you've watched the series Mindhunter or you've read the book or any of John Douglas's books, it started off studying the psyche of criminals, which they do a lot more now, even with like information they get just from like certain prisons, like the prisoners, whether it just be like regular types of like breaking and entering and things like that, to be able to understand what actually motivates the offender. So
They do
now
interview for
go ahead.
statistics. Sorry.
Yeah. So they work in tandem with the federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement partners. And their work includes criminal investigative analysis, and that analyzes an offender's motivation, victim selection, sophistication level, actions, and relationships to that particular crime, along with a sequence of events. They will interview, they have interview strategies, which combine behavioral principles, psychological concepts, and science-based methods to prepare for, conduct, and analyze during an interview. They also do investigative strategy, which is behaviorally based recommendations to amplify an investigation's effectiveness and prioritize the resources. In other words, they will tell them, or suggest where they would actually be best to put their resources. They do threat assessment, which kind of goes back into that question that I asked. I think that it would be a higher threat assessment if someone broke into your home and stole something personal like a pair of underwear, or something along those lines, versus actually just breaking in your house to take items of value. That's usually just kind of your general breaking and entering, to take stuff. Yes, you can run into really dangerous types that don't mind coming in when people are at home and asleep. Or if you were to corner them, that they might not become violent. But they use fact-based methods that focus on an individual's pattern of thinking and behavior to determine whether they are moving toward an attack on an identified target, or to what extent. So.
All right.
It's crazy thinking about the taking panties and all that stuff. Animal House was actually not that funny when you think about it. It wasn't. I mean, it's a hilarious movie, but you're like, they did some pretty rapey things.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. And I'm not personally on my end. I'm not going to really be like zeroing in on since you brought up rape, like serial rapists and things like that. Yeah. Even though they can have a lot of the same problems.
Serial rapists tend to, once they're, usually the serial rapist will end up becoming a serial killer, because
once they're caught, they realize that they need to get rid of all evidence, and that includes the human being.
So a good majority of, I would honestly think there's a good portion probably of serial rapists that they might have been caught over and over again for rape, but I bet you they have some bodies that they've hidden. It's,
and Gacy's kind of an example of that.
Oh yeah.
Even though he chose to actually, perpetrate crimes against children or people of younger age. I we've talked about that several times.
Oh yeah.
How he figured out it was better to go ahead and get rid of the whole issue than to worry about that coming back on him somehow.
Yep. I just thought it was one of those things with Gacy and a couple of serial killers out there. Like, you're like, why did you do this? All you got to do was, why would you put the bodies under your own house? I don't understand that. It was like,
well, and that may have to do with control.
Yeah,
and, more than just hiding the body. That could have to do with control.
But you're sitting there going, I'm sitting there thinking in my own head, I was like, you own other properties. You have other places. You're a construction worker. Come on, man. You could go visit them. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Terrible joke.
Well, and something interesting that I was reading too was like in the case of like Wayne Williams. Now they've done some interviews within, I think it was the violent offenders, and I think it was an Ohio prison. Now during this particular collection of data, only 2% actually admitted to this fact, but they from what I understand, a lot of times, like with Wayne Williams, that if they target a certain age group, in a lot of cases, that can signify that that was probably around the same age that they were when maybe
Yeah.
something traumatic happened to them. So it really gets interesting.
Oh yeah. It does. Sorry. Clear my throat for a second. So
Do you want me to continue or
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and
anything you wanna
continue.
add?
I'm not gonna
Okay.
lie, I have no clue where we are on here. I keep
Okay.
looking and trying to
We're at
catch up to the notes.
criminal profiling. I kind of jumped to something else real quick when I was talking about the behavioral unit.
Okay.
But so the criminal profiling in general, offender profiling is another word for it. But again, like I said, it's also known as criminal profiling. It's an investigative strategy used by law enforcement agencies to identify likely suspects, and has been used by investigators to link cases that may have been committed by the same perpetrator. The ancestor of modern profiling, like we had mentioned a moment ago, was Robert Ressler of the FBI, and considered profiling as a process of identifying all the psychological characteristics of an individual, forming a general description of the personality based on the analysis of the crimes committed by him or her. Most likely it's going to be male, even though we do know that there are female serial killers.
They're just, it's so different. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yes.
interrupt, but it is so
No.
different, their motives and what they do. And there's only usually the female serial killers that are sexually motivated tend to have a male counterpart who's the dominant one, who's basically groomed them to be serial killers and to go along with the
Yes.
sex and all this other stuff, or the rape. I mean,
Yeah.
So Carla Homolka and
Oh, yeah.
Bernardo.
yeah, that's a great example of one of it.
Mhm.
Actually, it was the other way. I don't know. I mean, Carla Homolka was, man, she got out of that so and got
Beth Smith actually mentioned Bernardo keeps trying for parole because denied. And
Mhm.
I was like, and yet Carla Homolka is out.
She got to him first. She was smart. She got to the tapes, knew where they were at, and said, I see this ending right now, and I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
And that's exactly
Well,
what
and you
happened.
know, there's a specific classification for those types of criminals. And from the way I understand it or interpret it is that it could be those types, which are like you'll have the dynamic between two people that kill. And also it could apply to cults like the Manson family or some of these. Was it Terrio? Was it
Rock
Terrio?
Terrio.
And the Anthill kids, or
Anthill
whatever they
Kids,
were.
yep. Rock
Yeah.
Terrio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it could apply to that too, to where you have kind of a dominant and then a lot of followers. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
Yeah,
So-
she definitely
Actually,
was one of the worst.
Paul Bernardo is actually a prime example of someone who was a serial rapist who became a
Mhm.
serial killer.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. That's exactly where that's usually end up where they end up going, because it's just in their heads. It's, I mean, if you can get rid of the evidence, all of, which
Mhm.
is basically the body, everything else is circumstantial. And
exactly.
the toy box killer, right? He is one of the only people who, not only people, but he's convicted of killing people, but it's all circumstantial. They never found any of the bodies, not any of them. So, and the only one that got the one that was the couple of them, they got him for mostly rape.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
He was charged with 4 counts of rape, I believe.
something around there. I thought it was like 4 or 5 or 3.
Something like that. And then like the murders that he was convicted of were circumstantial.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it wasn't until, and I think we discussed this on one of the other podcasts, that it wasn't until like the early 90s or late 80s before we actually had a successful trial and conviction without a body.
Yeah.
I think that was him,
It may have been him.
because there's no way to prove that he killed anybody. No way. Yeah. He had a torture room, but granted it was weird, but he was in it with his daughter, all of them, and their husbands and stuff. I mean, but other than that, it was like, that's kind of one of those things. There's a lot of sex clubs out there like that. a lot of swingers
Yeah.
groups that do stuff like that. You know,
Well,
Well, and you would be
I mean,
so
they're
surprised how like the
they're
largest
consensual
majority
though.
of crimes when we're talking about serial killers and like that and things along those lines, they're and I really I don't know. Freud has always bothered me a little bit because everything is about sex. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I will say that the largest majority, regardless of what classification they usually fall into, except for maybe medical killers, there is some element of a sexual, or there is a sexual element there in some form or fashion.
So I actually just looked something up. Surprise, surprise, it happened in California. But the country's first murder conviction without habeas corpus, basically,
Mhm.
or so without
No
body,
crime.
was actually in 1957
Oh,
at the trial
really?
of Leonard Ewing Scott, who was convicted of killing his wife, Evelyn Thorsby Scott.
Well,
And
which
this
one was it
was
in the 1990s?
that would be Thomas Capano.
Okay.
And he was convicted in 1996, and he
Okay,
was
that sounds
convicted
about right.
for murdering his former lover.
hmm
So the investigators actually lacked a murder weapon or a body, but because they had the purchase of the gun,
Yeah.
that was used.
Is this in the 50s one or
That
in
was
the
actually
90s?
96.
96. Okay.
Yeah. The other one,
Back when
he,
they were tying people to the bedpost.
yeah. This one, they actually didn't publish a report about it though until like 1987.
Okay.
But basically,
Maybe that's what had me confused or something. I don't know.
oh yeah. Well, get this. His wife disappeared from their Bel Air home in 1955. Only
Mhm.
her dentures and glasses were found near the backyard incinerator.
Well, that's not ominous.
Ugh.
Where a neighbor,
I don't know where Grandma went.
right, well, a
She
neighbor
just
had
spit out her
seen
dentures
them.
and left.
Just
Oh, she just walked off.
she just spit her dentures out, and I don't know, man. She wanted to go make a buck or something. I don't know.
I saw her walking into the setting sun.
See, Grandma was into dick and fart jokes. I can tell you that right now.
Where were they going without even knowing the way?
Oh, that's a sad song.
That was a messed up song actually. But no, yeah. So they were found by the backyard incinerator, by the way. And the neighbor had seen Leonard stoking a fire shortly after her disappearance.
Is this like the college kids throwing themselves into a wood chipper?
Yes.
Where did this happen at again?
Grandma
Bel Air,
had a
California.
suicide pact. She just threw herself into the
Is this
incinerator.
Bel Air, California version of fried green tomatoes or something like that.
I think so. I think so.
We were going to barbecue Grandma, but we just decided to throw her into the incinerator and just leave her dentures right there.
Teeth and hair.
All right, okay.
Teeth and hair.
All right. So
Shattering dentures. Sorry.
Now I have
It's okay.
fastball stuck in my head.
all right. So the earliest reference to the use of profiling, according to R.S. Feldman, which is Quintilian's essay, Instructions to the Speaker, was written in the 1st century AD. It included information about gestures used by people at that time.
This is
Now,
my favorite, by the way.
M. Woodworth and S. Porter believed that the first development on the topic of profiling should be considered none other than the notorious Malleus Maleficarum, or
Yeah, that's
Hammer
what
of
I
the
said.
Witch.
Wait a second. Wait. Here, let's see if I can. Is this
Malleus
the right one?
Maleficarum.
Malleus Maleficarum. Now,
I had to do a
now
Latin too.
the Malleus Maleficarum was written in the 15th century, since it contains psychological profiles of alleged witches, which is completely off base. I own a copy and it's completely stupid. As far as the things that they thought they knew. But actually the worst book is The Discovery of Witches.
Well, if they float,
she's a
From the
witch.
Malleus
if
Malice
they
Park.
float, she's a witch. If she
What
drowns,
else floats on water?
if she drowns, she's innocent.
So, if she weighs as much as a duck, she's a witch.
I got better.
She turned me into a newt. I got better.
So the first offender profile was assembled by Detective of London Metropolitan Police on the personality of none other. Whitechapel, are you ready? Jack the Ripper.
Whitechapel.
It's a sausage ripper.
Sausage Jack.
It's a sausage Jack.
And unless you've been living under a rock, like if you have been living under a rock, Jack the Ripper was a serial killer who had murdered several prostitutes
Just a little bit.
in the 1880s. But it was actually police surgeon Thomas Bond was asked to give his opinion on the extent of the murders from a surgical skills and the possible knowledge that it would have taken someone in order to, perpetrate this crime. Now, Bond's assessment was based on his own examination of the most extensively mutilated victim and the post-mortem notes from the 4 previous canonical murders. In his notes, dated November 10th of 1888, Bond mentioned that the sexual nature of the murders, coupled with the elements of apparent misogyny and rage, Bond also tried to reconstruct the murder and interpret the behavioral patterns of the offender, which I think is kind of smart.
Yeah.
Especially during that day and age.
Thomas Bond. I'm all, is he related to James?
Like Sean Connery, James Bond, because
he takes his cadavers shaken, not stirred.
well, I could see him
50 no's and 1 yes is still a yes.
Apparently, Jack the Ripper has 50 no's, and he got his yes.
50 no's and 1 yes is still a yes.
Every single murder scene, that's what he just says. There's another yes.
She's all no. He's all again. No.
Just cracking
again.
jokes.
Yes.
Sometimes
That's
sometimes you have to slap a woman. That's what he did here. I can't do a Scottish accent. It's going to turn Russian here in a second.
At this point, I just have jokes about haunted pushwas.
It's going to be
and Zardoz in his Speedo suspenders go-go boots.
I'm going to start doing Sean Connery doing a Russian accent. It's just him talking. I loved Red October, man. It was such a good, or was it Red? No, Red October. I was about to say Red Dawn. Red Dawn was a good one too.
Red Dawn was good.
Family Guy. It has been a Red Dawn.
There for a second, I was like, I don't remember Connery being in Red Dawn.
No, Red October, which was an amazing movie. It would have been great.
What character was he?
Farland, you have ruined everything for me, by the way.
Playing a Colorado farmer, and he's still Sean Connery, talking like Sean Connery.
He plays a Spaniard, but does nothing about his accent.
No,
actually,
not at all.
Sir, he was actually an Egyptian, and then he became a Spaniard. That's how old he was in Highlander. I know the lore.
I love that though. Sean Connery plays a Spaniard, but does nothing about his accent.
Look, he's Sean Connery. He can do whatever the fuck he wants to.
That's true. Seth MacFarlane has literally ruined everything. Because all I could think of is Peter Griffin doing the musical rendition of Red Dawn now. And at the end of it, he goes, it has been a Red Dawn.
Can I just bring up how good of a sport Sean Connery was in that movie? Because so Christopher Lambert literally makes a joke to him saying it's in the movie, he's all like describing what haggis is. So Sean Connery, being a Scotsman in the movie, says, what is in it? How revolting. It's just like the best part. It made me laugh so hard because I was like, he's a Scotsman who's just bagging on haggis right now.
I have been told by a certain Scottish vixen that I would actually quite enjoy it.
I think I would enjoy haggis.
Yeah.
And they basically make it
how I would enjoy haggis? I'd walk out to the corner of the street and I'd find my trash can.
No, I've been told that I'd probably enjoy it quite a bit.
Speaking of that, on a random note, before we get back into this, we had some boudin at
booty balls.
Yeah,
booty balls.
The place had a Cajun food truck out there, and they were legit Cajun.
I loved it.
like,
I
just
loved it.
transplants here in California, and it was the boudin was good. They
Boudin
had
balls. I had etouffee.
with crawfish.
With
I
Now,
crawfish.
now
I had
what
a-
is boudin made out of? I know I'm
Well,
gonna regret
Boudin
asking
balls.
this.
No, it's literally like dirty rice with like pork in it, and then they make them into croquettes.
but the pork
and they
sauce,
fry them.
the pork in it is like it's the kind of like scrapple where it's
I gotcha.
it's the pork
Like the South.
Yeah,
Pudding balls.
yeah, it's all
head
that
cheese.
all that stuff. Yeah, head cheese
Yeah,
and some Morgan meat.
no.
You know, the good the livers and stuff like that. Which
Well,
oh my
actually,
gosh.
I think authentic, and I just it's kind of like giblet gravy. I just don't think
Yum.
about it while I'm eating it.
I love giblet gravy. He
I
won't
can't
eat it.
I
and
can't do the
love it.
giblet
Oh,
gravy, but I was
love
gonna
it.
say
But see,
liverwort like that. Like
if you
it's so
if you
good.
puree it, if you
It's so
puree the
good.
giblets and you don't see them, that's
I'm-
what I do. I puree them.
I'm that
into a
cook. I will
pate.
go in there and look at it and be like, nope.
I'm anemic. I actually should be a lot darker than this, to be fair. I'm pretty anemic, and I absolutely love like liver and onions and fried chicken livers and all of that stuff. But he can't stand the smell, so I have to cook it while he's gone.
If it's calf's liver or something like that, I'm fine with it. Calf's liver or pork liver. I
have calf liver in the freezer. Can I make it tonight?
No, we've already ate.
Are you gonna have it with
We'll
barber
make it,
beans?
we'll make it, but I'm fine with if it's that. But chicken livers, I can't do. I refuse it. I don't know why people eat chicken livers. It's gross.
I love
I
chicken.
fish with them.
Yeah, fishing with them
eat
is one
'em.
thing, but
Oh,
no.
I do fish with them too.
Even though I will tell you, I went deep sea fishing one time, and I really wanted to take a bite out of the baby squids that we were using because they looked so delicious.
They're all.
I was just like, no, I'll probably get some kind of.
Okay, before we get right back into it, check this out. So you take some chicken livers, you make a teriyaki with cooking sherry, and you marinate it overnight. Okay,
I know exactly what you're about to say. Yeah, because I
Then-
make mock ones.
I love
then you
ramaki so much.
Throw it in the trash.
No, so then you wrap. This is all stuff you hate. So
I know. I don't like chicken livers. I'm sorry.
I get it. Yeah, you also don't like water chestnuts. So
I don't like the texture of them.
so you put water chestnuts and then you wrap bacon around it
Yeah,
and then you bake it.
yeah.
And it is so good. People don't realize that it's chicken livers until you tell them. But I'm not mean. I don't just go, hey, eat this.
No,
Oh,
I
ha ha
would-
ha, chicken liver. No, I'll tell people.
I will tell. I can tell exactly what that is when it is. I can tell by the smell, all that stuff, and it's like, no.
It's like, why am I eating pennies?
Yeah.
That's what they taste. It tastes like to me is eating pennies.
I like it. But then again, I guess it must be like
Well, like you said, you're anemic, so
I
you know
crave
it could be very
iron.
delicious to you. Yeah,
I crave iron. I crave blood.
yeah. I'm that way with seaweed, which that
Mm-hmm.
tells me that's like some sort of maybe iodine deficiency or something. Because when I start feeling really bad,
Arsenic.
if I can just go, I don't know, if I can just go get some like seaweed salad or something, some seaweed salad and like hot and sour soup, I'm good.
Yum. Oh yeah, if I'm having a bad day, if I have a massive headache, I will just make miso
Miso's
with
good
like
too.
added vegetables into it. By the way, the reason I said arsenic is I got these seaweed wrapped crackers and it said, caution, it has inorganic arsenic.
Well, you know, your
lead.
body does need like I can't even not even like that's too much. But it does need a certain amount of that kind of stuff. So
I'm still tripping out on inorganic arsenic.
And by the way, when we say your body needs a little bit of it, we were talking about what's naturally in the earth,
The
food
dirt
that you
and the
already
water.
eat.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not take arsenic.
Don't
No.
take arsenic.
It will
No.
kill
No.
you.
Just like ricin will kill you, just like a gun
Yes.
will kill you if you. So, guys, just be smart. Come on. All right, let's get
All right.
back into this.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay. So psychological profiling is described as a method of suspect identification which seeks to identify a person's mental, emotional, and personality characteristics based on things done or left at the crime scene.
Dun, dun,
Now,
dun.
Now, the criminal investigative approach is what is used by law enforcement and more specifically by the Behavioral Analysis Unit, or also referred to as the BAU within the FBI.
Not
The
to be,
BAU.
not
What?
to be confused with BYU.
Yeah. So the BAU, like I said earlier, they do assist law enforcement agencies by reviewing and doing assessments of criminal acts and by helping to interpret the offender's behavior during the crime and the interaction between the offender and the victim during the commission of said crime, and as expressed in the crime scene. So you're going to have not only what may have been done to the victim, but you'll also have things that are associated with the crime scene.
This next part is totally my favorite part out of all of it, I
you
guess.
Want, you want to read this part?
Oh, totally. So
Okay.
how is
All right.
psychology related to criminal behavior? For the record, Oddmother, myself, Hexus, we constantly read books on psychology, dark psychology, all kinds of shit. So like this is the kind of stuff that we are literally talking about in the background all the time.
Yes. And dark psychology is some fucked up shit.
Right? Oh my God. And it's like, and how to use it. I'm like, I don't want to use it.
Exactly. I was telling Odd Daughter about it, and she says, so basically it's just teaching you how to be a poor, horrible person. I said, pretty much.
Yep. But it's kind of like the way that I take that book is kind of like that that show How to Become a Dictator, where like I feel like if it was read in the proper manner, it would be more tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Because like that How to Become a Tyrant. That's what it's called. Is the show. And they were like, all you got to do is isolate a portion of your society, just the way that they did it, the way that they structure it. It's like, look, all you got to do. And what was it? Don't underestimate the women, because the women are a big part of society. So you need to make sure that they have jobs as well and helping to turn people to your cause.
Yes. But I will tell you this much. Reading and studying about dark psychology does help you to understand the people that may intentionally use it against other people, or that through just developmental trauma in their younger ages use it and may not be aware of it at all.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's some people that are just fucked in the head. I mean, I've met a few of those lately. So how is psychology related to criminal behavior? The field of psychology focuses on analyzing the mind and behavior of individuals. Professionals in psychology related careers, such as forensic psychologists, correctional and criminal psychologists, leverage this analytical mindset to make important contributions to the fields of criminology and criminal justice. When one examines the behaviors of specific offenders and the underlying motivations that drive their criminal conduct, we move closer to understanding why these crimes occur and closer to developing early intervention strategies that could help prevent some of these crimes in the future. So, in other words, being able to get a detailed profile of how these people think helps us understand and recognize the signs for future knowledge to try to avoid these crimes in the future.
Yes.
Psychological factors that contribute to criminal acts. When someone commits a crime, there's often one or more psychological factors contributing to their negative behavior. Some common psychological elements associated with criminal offenders are personality disorders. So, like major depressive, dependent personality, antisocial personality, which I will get into all three of those actually right now. In 2017, researchers conducted a study involving a random sampling of 228 prisoners composed of 114 women and 114 men. Among these test subjects, 87.3% of the women and 83.3% of the men had personality disorders at the time that they committed their crime. So we just be crazier, huh?
Well, I think that the female perpetrator a lot of times is much more. They seem to be a lot more unpredictable. Like certain things can set them off, and they tend to be filled with, I guess the best layman term, just filled with anger.
Well, I feel like emotions,
Mhm.
we tend to be a little bit more emotional.
Right.
It just happens, or it's, you know, societally, if that's even a word, we are the ones who are told to show our emotions, whereas men
Mhm.
in general are more stigmatized for showing emotion.
Mhm.
And so at points it also we tend to let our hormones get to us. I would be curious to find out
Mhm.
how many of these women were on their period when they committed their crime.
Well,
I
you know
know.
that, or you would look at triggers like Warnos, for example. Like she didn't have a specific type
No,
that
but
she
she
looked
had a
for. Like
trigger.
she had certain triggers that would make her lash out violently if if a John or what have you, just some male aspect in that particular moment in time were to push those buttons or trigger those triggers. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Oh yeah. I mean, God, she was absolutely insane. And I am
yeah.
the people who try to make her, oh, poor baby. No, not poor baby. Fuck her. Sorry.
Well, and the more that you understand about, what a lot of these criminals, these repeat violent criminals, serial killers, things like that, um, it's really there's insane behavior and then there's insanity, and they're two different things.
Mhm.
And so you really do lose a lot of any type of sympathy or
Yeah.
anything like that
Oh yeah.
for a serial killer because of the more that you learned about the psychological factors that go into what may motivate them, and you better understand that you really are to the point where you're like, I'm not going to give you the benefit of any type of doubt whatsoever. So,
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying that PMS is an actual excuse,
hmm
but it would probably fall under like crime of passion
hmm
or something like that. And it could be considered temporary insanity depending on how they were acting. But I still don't think that's an excuse.
right, and you would have
So
to look at the age of the perpetrator because this is another thing I found super interesting. So, if you have like a super violent crime that is just it's when we think of like textbook serial killer, when you have a really violent crime like that, and it's the first one that you've seen like that, um then that helps to kind of in general figure out the possible age of the
yes.
perpetrator because it usually takes anywhere from 8 to 10 years for someone that will have those tendencies to get to the point to where they actually act out on them.
Oh yeah.
Like if you look in this person's history, you're going to see things like the animal cruelty. You may see things like arson,
Bedwetting.
things along the well, yeah, but bedwetting, I think that's a lot of that, even though I think it's prevalent in a lot of these cases. Um, I think that's probably what has kind of steered a lot of profilers away from using what is it, the McDonald triad or whatever
Yeah. Yeah.
that lists that as one of the possible symptoms.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I
but
mean,
it can be present in certain situations.
the
Like I wouldn't be
bedwetting,
surprised if Kemper didn't do it if his mother was very domineering.
I feel like the bedwetting thing is more of a reference as to like when they were a little bit younger, not like necessarily while
Right,
they're
right.
in the process.
Yeah, exactly. When
Uh,
they're younger. Yeah.
oh, so while numerous personality disorders can impact a person's likelihood of committing a crime, the following disorders are the most often seen in people who have committed violent crimes.
hmm
So, major depressive disorder, people diagnosed with depression are roughly 3 times more likely than the general population to commit violent crimes such as robbery, sexual offenses, and assault, according to psychiatric experts. The
hmm
study, based on more than 47,000 people in Sweden emphasized that the overwhelming majority of depressed people are neither violent nor criminal and should not be stigmatized. One important finding was that the vast majority of depressed people who were not convicted of violent crimes, were not convicted of violent crimes, and that the rates are below those for schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and considerably lower than alcohol and drug abuse. Why even mention it then? I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Why even mention that? Why?
Well,
So-
I guess it's to say that actually, that someone that may suffer from depressive disorder is probably less likely to commit a crime than somebody that is on alcohol or has a drug problem.
That's true. Yeah.
Yes.
Think about it. Most of the people that are depressed are not going to be raging, acting out. So there usually has to be another
Mhm.
comorbidity along with the depression
Exactly.
other than just being depressed. Because a lot of times people with major depressive disorder turn that internally as
Mhm.
opposed to lashing out at others. Now, that's not saying that they're not going to lash out if they're annoyed, if they're bothered, if they're pestered to cheer
Mhm.
up or something like that. But that I do understand why they're saying, okay, so people that have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder are within that grouping as a larger majority than some of the other disorders.
Right. And if they did, for whatever reason, commit a violent crime, it's going to be more likely that it's going to be robbery, a sexual offense of some sort, or some sort of assault
Yes.
is what they have found.
And
If they do, commit some sort of violent crime.
Oh, yeah. So,
Got water.
okay, thank you. Come on. What? So, dependent personality disorder. I kind of feel like this would be like Homolka and Bernardo.
Carla Homolka.
Yeah,
This is
I feel like
gonna
this would
be
definitely
like cultish type stuff as well.
Yeah, so like Rocktario,
Rocktario still sounds like a band to me.
right? Keith Rainier, those people. Charlie Manson.
Charlie Manson and the Rockettes. The
Come on.
Rocktarioettes.
Always is always forever. Okay, so dependent personality disorder. According to one study, dependent personality disorder, or DPD, I can't say this shit with a straight face, man, is significantly associated with violence and firearm offenses, but negatively associated with criminal damage. However, people with DPD are more likely to be victims than offenders and may only become offenders if they retaliate in the face of abuse. One study also found that DPD was associated with drug-related crimes. So what I gathered from that is that they're referring to the people who are either in abusive relationships, but they're like very dependent abusive relationships.
Right.
And where one of them is the victim and one of them is the offender. When I'm saying Carla Homolka and Bernardo, Paul Bernardo, I'm kind of thinking like, I guess one of them had to be the victim in the first place, theoretically. And then they were both led, or the victim was led to do the things that the perpetrator initially wanted.
Well, and it could be too, and I can't remember his name right off the bat, but the two snipers.
Oh,
the DC snipers?
The DC snipers. The one was the older one groomed the younger one.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So that would probably be some sort of dependent personality disorder as far as it applies to the younger one. Yeah, that was groomed.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which would make sense with the firearm offenses and violence.
And so this one seems to be the most common. So also known as sociopathy or sociopathy. What was the way it was sociopathy?
Sociopathy.
Sociopathy.
There's no such thing as sociopaths.
There's no such thing as psychopaths.
It's not in college books.
Oh my God. Antisocial personality disorder, which is commonly referred to as sociopathy, is a mental health condition that can be associated with psychopathic and sociopathic personalities. So I want to explain something really fast. Psychopaths are born with that disconnect in their brain.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Sociopaths have the same disconnect, but it's created by external, by their upbringing. So
upbringing, you can even
you can train yourself too.
You can become a sociopath simply by being abused over and over again, even as an adult, because your emotions will get turned off.
Yeah,
because that's the only way you can defend against it.
I mean, again, we bring up Kemper a lot. Look at what happened. Clarnell, created the monster that she feared the most.
He clearly had some issues, and his mother magnified it. And they said it best in last LPN last podcast on the left. I think it was Marcus Parks. He was saying that he would have just grown, if he probably didn't have his mother, he probably would have grown up to be just one of those big like Cal State workers. He would have
grown up to be a security guard.
Yeah.
That really wanted to be a cop but could never make it as a cop.
Super intelligent though.
Super intelligent.
But there's a few of them that was like that. And unless we're talking about the same person, to where he was like, if I had gone off to live with my dad, none of this would ever happen.
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
He had
even though I don't know if his dad even wanted anything to do with him because he left him when he was so young.
He didn't.
The damage was already done by the time it got to his father, because that's when he was already like 16 and he was already a gigantic monster, and he was basically just sitting there just like, staring like he was a lion at his prey, at his stepmother.
No, his mother.
Oh, I'm talking about when he went off with his father.
Oh, he did, yeah. Well, because he kept begging. His name's Emil. He kept begging him and begging him and begging him.
Oh, he just showed up too.
He kept being told no, so he just showed up because he was like, I can't deal with Clarnell anymore. I can't do this. So eventually, because the damage was already done, and Emil was like, okay, I got to protect the family that I have going on here now, and ended up sending him to his parents' house, which ended up being, as we know, completely disastrous.
Mm-hmm. And David Berkowitz had a similar situation when he finally found his original birth mother. And it turns out she had another family, didn't want to have anything to do with him.
How fucking damaging is that?
Damaging enough to make him kill people.
No, I mean, I'm just saying in general, for your average person who already doesn't have issues.
Oh, it's hard. Mm-hmm. This is why some serial killers are very tragic. You have Dahmer, Kemper.
Oh, look, I have empathy for some of them.
We're not condoning what they did in any way, shape, or form. They're total douchebags, and they deserve what they're getting. But these guys, some of them are very, very tragic. BTK, on the other hand, not tragic at all. He's
Fuck him.
Douchebag from the start.
BTK, I think, is an anomaly, to be very honest. Because when I was reading some of this stuff, it is really hard to pinpoint issues with BTK. I imagine that's probably one of the reasons they had a hard time finding it.
He had he had a normal upbringing, an absolute normal upbringing.
One of the things, though, I have empathy for young Ramirez, empathy for young Dahmer, empathy for young Kemper, even, because their upbringing was so horrible.
Yeah,
like how could it have been different? Ramirez with his frontal lobe damage multiple times, causing him to have epilepsy, and his dad going, fuck it, he doesn't have epilepsy. Yeah. And then beating the shit out of him when he'd get drunk. And then he had to go sleep in a fucking cemetery when he was like 12.
Yeah.
What 12-year-old
has to damage any person? Yeah.
So, I guess getting back to antisocial personality disorder, people with this may have a pattern of rule breaking and disregard for others' rights and feelings. Some of the famous murderers who have been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder include Eileen Wuornos, Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, Henry Lee Lucas, and David Berkowitz. Borderline personality disorder. Now, okay. I don't know how to put this.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot. I've met too many people who use this as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying borderline personality disorder, not
the skunt.
The skunt is one of them.
Resby.
The other L in our life. I know.
I have so many anti-personality disorders. No, you're just dumb as fuck.
Yeah, you're just an asshole. So, borderline personality disorder is associated with a number of criminal behaviors, including impulsive and violent crimes. Studies have shown that up to 55% of female prisoners and 27% of male prisoners meet full diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder, and that female criminals may have higher rates. Okay, I just said that.
Yeah.
Why are we repeating that?
That's how the notes.
The notes sometimes when we type things up, we think that we're like we're
Saying
typing
one thing.
like we repeat ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can't help it. So yeah, studies have shown that females have higher rates than males, 55 to 27%.
So you just watch out, mister.
Some factors that may contribute to the relationship between borderline personality disorder and criminal behavior would be like impulsivity, which is a common feature of borderline personality disorder. It's also a major factor in crimes of passion, which are characterized by unpremeditated impulsive aggression.
And I imagine we're probably talking more to like the severe end of the spectrum.
Oh, the severity. Well,
you know, the crazy thing is how fast they can figure out, though, with whether it's a crime of passion or if it was premeditated. It's so that is one thing that is interesting to watch detectives do when it is literally like just quick like that. They're like, no, this is clear. You're lying here. You didn't just pick this. You didn't just decide to do this right now. You planned it.
You planned it.
It's so like interesting to watch them piece everything together and how they do that.
Yes. It is because you'll always wind up telling on yourself somehow.
Oh yeah. So another one would be childhood maltreatment. Childhood maltreatment is considered a significant precursor to borderline personality disorder and is closely related to impulsivity.
Yeah.
Up to 70% of the people with borderline personality disorder have experienced sexual, emotional, and or physical abuse as a child.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing too: the vast majority of these people who have BPD, borderline personality disorder, any of them,
they're medicated.
They're medicated, or even if they're not serial killers. The vast majority of them aren't violent. This is the serial killers and stuff like that. They're a very small percentage, but every one of them does have borderline personality or some sort of like narcissistic tendencies, all this other stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like so.
Electrodermal responses. This is an interesting one. Criminal offenders with borderline personality disorder may show decreased electrodermal responses, which are thought to predispose people to stimulus seeking and impulsive behavior, meaning that they don't get the normal reaction from different stimuli that the typical neurotypical brain might. Because I don't want to say normal people or something like that, because none of us are really normal. So I guess neurotypical would be the proper way to say it. They don't have the same stimuli, and so they're constantly finding that bigger and bigger high. Basically, they're chasing the dragon.
Kind of like A personalities that really like the thrill.
Yeah,
they like to experience the thrill. Adrenaline junkies.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a large majority of the people that are like super adrenaline junkies actually have borderline personality. Like, and I'm talking the extreme ones, the ones that are like regularly jumping out of perfectly good planes for no reason. The ones that do
every stuntman
all the stuntmen, the downhill bike racers, which is hilarious. I say that because my dad's not
a
BPD,
lot of
but
the vast majority of sports athletes. There you go. I couldn't think of the word.
I want to say they either have BPD or ADHD. Really,
I'm saying contact sports, stuff like that, and they're not terrible people. They're great people. They just go that far, and anybody who's willing to put their body or life on the line has some form of BPD.
Hurricane chasers that have to fly the planes down into the actual eye of the hurricane.
I was gonna say I feel attacked, but I never did that kind of storm chasing. Never mind.
Oh yeah, I would do it. I mean, if we were over there, I would do it.
I used to do.
My daughter wants to do it.
I've done a little when it comes to tornadoes. It was fun. We figured out where there was going to be one that landed, and we drove out there. And it crossed right in front of us.
Did we also just admit to having?
See, I'm an old Southerner. I just want to stand on my porch and go, ooh, ah, okay, everybody run inside.
Look, I'll tell that
I love tornado. I love storm chasing. I'm not gonna lie, it's so much fun. It's a good thrill. And then the other thing I was gonna say is,
well, the one time I came. Okay, so
okay.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say prior to that, because I was like, I'm not calling my dad BPD, but like, we used to mountain bike, and his bestie would do downhill racing, and so we would try to go downhill. The thing about going downhill is you can't go slow; you'll fall over. So you have to go fast. You have to. And by the way, you have to use both brakes, but don't forget you have to use the back brake a little more than the front brake, because if you use the front brake, you go over the handlebars.
Yep. Yeah,
I wanted to be out there in storms until there was one morning I called you, I think immediately too, Natalie, when it happened, or about an hour after it happened, because I think it was still. No, I think I called you immediately because it was like 6 o'clock in the morning over here, and the sun was just coming up because it was like winter.
I think so.
And like all of a sudden, like I was walking Akia out because she was heading off to work.
You were walking me?
Well, you want me to go out because it was. You wanted me to go out there with you because it was storming, and then we all of a sudden I was talking with her on the phone while she was going down the road, and she got about about a quarter mile away where you can see the In-N-Out sign over here off our freeway.
Oh, when I
no, it wasn't just it was that you called me over that, but then all of a sudden I was talking to you, and then there was a bolt of lightning that just came down in our neighborhood, and I was all, I'm going inside. I was like, and now ever since then, when thunder starts, I'm like, I don't want to be out here. That was like that instant death. I would have. I would just been like, all right, hey, there's Odin. What's going on here?
Well,
what did I do?
Thor. Yes, Thor.
I would have been done with outside for that day.
I was done with thunder. I like being outside when they start, but the minute I start seeing lightning, I'm like, I'm gonna go back inside now. I'm done.
So the first time I experienced a lightning strike that was too close for comfort, I was driving through Whittier with my dad, and lightning struck a chain link fence like right next to us. And we actually saw like the dirt disperse and some like rocks come up and everything. And I was like, that was close, Dad. And he was like, it wasn't as close as you think. I'm like, and you can hear it.
It was the fence.
I'm sure that he can hear that in his voice too.
Wait, what?
When my dad just tries to downplay something.
Oh yeah. And you hear the worry, like, oh, shoo, that was close.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then
your dad is that dog in the meme with the house on fire, and he's drinking coffee, going, "I'm fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine."
No, let's get out of here now. No. Just everyone warm up right now. It's cold outside.
Let's just go sit in the car. Let's just go sit in the car and maybe take a nice drive.
The second time that I had a scary lightning situation was I was in Kansas, and it started to storm, and I called home to be like, hey, we're having a big storm. I just wanted to let you know, because I was living in a trailer park at the time. And yeah, I know, trailer park in Kansas probably wasn't the best idea, but hey, we're having a storm. We're probably gonna head to my friend's storm shelter, like my friend's parents' storm shelter, because their basement was turned into a really cool shelter. And
got turned into an underground pool that day too.
No, it didn't.
I'm just kidding.
And as I am talking, lightning strikes the ground, comes through the phone, and I scream and throw the phone, and the line disconnects. I'm sure that was
all of a sudden live, the band playing right there.
Yes, but I'm sure
lightning crashes.
I'm sure that scared the shit out of the person on the other line, because I wasn't able to call back for a while.
Oh,
and so the other thing that happened during that, a circus was in town, and the elephants and giraffes got loose, and they were running down the street, and I'm just going,
it was chaos.
It was pandalirium. It was just weird. It was weird. So yeah, okay. Back to this. So BPD, borderline personality symptoms, are positively associated with a number of criminal behaviors in community samples, including assault, driving under the influence, disorderly conduct, shoplifting, drug-related crimes, and intimate partner violence. Wow, I know somebody like that.
Intimate partner
Bobbitt?
violence?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobbitt.
Oh yeah, Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah.
Oh. We'll tell you about it after the show, on Mother.
Okay.
We'll tell you who it is.
For the record, positive,
Oh.
not like, oh, this is a positive thing. It was positively associated with.
Wait, what?
In other words, it was actually confirmed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not like, this is a positive thing.
What the fuck?
We just want to let you know.
That's what threw me off there. So
We want to let you know. Assault, driving under the influence, disorderly conduct, shoplifting,
Wait, these are all
Yay,
you're
go!
saying this is good things?
drug-related crimes, intimate partner violence.
Yeah, that's a.
Woo! God damn it.
Oh my god!
I had to use the cheerleader voice for that.
It's just the Edmund Kemper in jail right now. Going, well, if somehow he's listening to our stuff, he's like, wait, these are good things now. This is positives.
So I'm going to actually ask for them to parole
I
me, damn
want
it.
parole. Damn it!
I've been telling them I don't want parole all this time, but now I've been told that it's okay.
So I want it.
So trauma. There is a direct correlation between childhood trauma and criminal behavior. I read that wrong, but there is. Okay. It was supposed to be a question, but I read it wrong. Studies show that when a child undergoes a life-altering experience such as physical abuse, neglect, witnessing the death of a friend or a family member at the hands of another, the repercussions can be long-lasting. So something that people don't take into account, that our formative years include the years that people think we don't remember.
Yes.
That we may not necessarily understand why we have this massive fear of something, and it could all stem back to something that happened when we were like 2.
Well, and that age is when they're from newborn to about 2 or 3 is when children do learn how to connect with people.
Yes.
And so therefore it would be very hard if they are abused or neglected. Not saying that it happens all the time, but that in cases that they have found with violent criminals, they a lot of times have a hard time either relating to another human being as actually having emotion or being human themselves, or being able to carry on any type of meaningful relationship with someone.
Freaking Whitechapel.
Women who get hangry turn murderous. I actually agree.
This
Get
is
her
true.
You know, it's cute when women are hangry, but when a guy is hangry, dear God,
they're such divas when they're hangry.
Oh my God!
You know what? Maybe it wasn't Saucy Jack. Maybe it was Saucy Jill, and she was just hungry.
Oh, Saucy Jill sounds like the inventor.
You know, she did eat that other half of that liver.
Saucy Jill sounds like the inventor of what are the eyelashes that you glue on or whatever. That's Saucy Jill.
Do you mean the cum catchers?
There you go.
I mean false eyelashes.
You said it. I didn't.
Cum catchers.
That's what swimming goggles are for, and nose plugs.
Oh God, could you imagine at the time it would have been those steampunk like coal miner goggles up there? Jack right here.
Hold on, let me put
on my cum goggles.
Look, I'm not gonna mention names, but I had a friend that happened to one time, and that's exactly what we bought her for. Like for her birthday, was a pair of swimming goggles.
Yeah. I had a friend who did it to someone, and it was hilarious. I mean, the story they told about it. I'm not
Look,
saying
that burns. What are you talking about?
It does.
It burns.
We do have a question here. What about crime
XXX.
against animals? Yes, that is actually part of it. That is actually a big part of.
Yeah.
But we'll actually get into that a little bit further down, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I did want to address it because I did see that you had a comment earlier where you were talking about somebody in your area who was unaliving cats, raccoons, and squirrels with their bare hands and a crossbow.
That is someone that you probably would want to be
Need to
concerned
avoid.
about.
Yeah.
You need to avoid, or if you're in a situation where some sort of intervention could happen from someone that is trained to do those types of intervention.
Yeah, as in a police officer or the mounted police. Being that you're up there in Canada, Beth.
Hey, Mounties are rad, man.
Yes. You could look, they'll show up in their
horses and everything.
Their horses and everything. Like,
for the record, no, they don't ride moose. They should, but they don't.
Should.
Look, they tried it. What was it, in France or Belgium? But the mooses would not cooperate.
The Swedish king.
I rode a moose.
That's what it was. Yeah.
The Ontario Provincial Police.
The Ontario.
I like Mounties. Wait, are you down with OPP? I'm sorry. It just clicked in my head. I'm sorry.
On a random note, Beth, there sure are a lot of there's some messed up killers up in Canada. I'll tell you that right now.
For being so friendly.
Like the one that was on the bus and ate somebody's throat out while the cops were outside the bus.
It's insane.
At the same time, that happens in Florida.
Well,
yes.
Canada, Florida, Canada, Florida.
Well, Florida eats faces. Canada eats throats.
Well, there is like 30 Days of Night if you get high enough up.
Very true.
And
very true.
Maybe they were just hangry vampires.
I'm sorry, Beth. Just where you want to light those neck protectors and.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm down with the Ontario Provincial Police.
Look at Keith's comment.
She's like, yeah, you know me.
I'd like to see Napoleon on a moose.
I believe it would be kind of like Farquaad, where they like had the fake legs and the fake arms. Like,
on a random note, we were watching Shrek the other day for like the 1,000th time, and I just noticed that the Farquaad emblem on his castle looks just like the Facebook emblem, and I was like,
and Farquaad's a little
makes
freaking pretentious ass hat.
Yes, I was like, dear God, I was like, they predicted it.
Now my brain's like, you down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. Go down with OPP.
All right,
everybody. So sometimes symptoms of trauma such as hostility and paranoid ideation persist into adulthood and can lead victims to engage in criminal activities. The likelihood increases with continued traumas, such as when an adolescent experiences repeat violence in their community or their home life. Furthermore, the National Institute of Justice states that individuals are more likely to become repeat criminal offenders if they've experienced prolonged trauma and have adopted emotional detachment as a coping mechanism, going back to the sociopath aspect. By disconnecting from their emotions, they may be able to intentionally disconnect from the emotional impact as well as the feelings associated with committing a crime. Multiple murderers are people who have, let's go with serial killers here. Oh, no. Okay. Multiple murderers are people who have killed more than one victim. Based on the patterns of their murders, multiple killers are classified into three basic categories: mass murderers, spree killers, and serial killers. Rampaging killers is a relatively new name given to both mass murderers and spree killers, though.
Just don't look up rampaging killers, okay, guys? You'll be redirected to the movie Seven.
Yeah, and this was an interesting one because you do have 3, possibly 4 classifications, and so a lot of people tend to refer to mass murderers, spree killers, and serial killers in a lot of cases as serial killers or just mass murderers, but some can be both.
Oh yeah. Well, so
like
a mass
they can
murderer
fall in several different of these categories as a serial killer.
Well, a mass murderer kills 4 or more people at one location during one continuous period of time, whether it's done within a few minutes or over a few periods of days, but it has to still be in the same location during a continuous time frame.
Now, Mary Bell, on the other hand, killed 2 victims, and that made her a serial killer, the youngest serial killer of England, by the way.
And she's out.
We will.
She's 67 years old.
We're not getting to it on this episode at all.
No,
not
no,
one
and we're not
bit.
even promising it.
We gotta get Tylos and Vice in here.
We got to get Renegade back.
Yeah,
Got to get
Renegade.
Slippy back. Everything for that one.
And then we have to get Mother de la Mort to come on with us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you won't see that until you might see it on the Patreon. Who knows? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or
That would be a good place to put it.
So mass
big
murderers usually commit murder at one location, which I had mentioned
Mhm.
earlier. Mass murderers can be can be committed by a single individual or a group of people. For
Like
example, Columbine. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Or the killing spree that happened in Arizona as the lockdowns were starting to lift.
Well, it was a church or something, wasn't it?
No, it was a mall, like a
Oh,
Outdoor
Right. Yeah.
mall.
The mall. Yeah.
and
yeah,
he filmed himself going in.
Yeah.
And if you guys get a chance to watch that video, if it's still up, it may not be. I actually watched it and it was very not interesting to the point that like I thought it was cool or anything, but interesting to see such detachment
yeah.
on somebody's face.
It's a lot of these people who do these things, when they're asked if they get them alive, they don't if they don't off themselves. They a lot of them are like, they ask them what's going on while it's happening. They're like, I don't feel a thing.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, it's,
Like
it's that emotional detachment that Aki was talking about just a moment ago, which is an old coping mechanism.
Yep. Oh, some serial killers are like, I'm not angry when I do this at all. I just start doing it. Some of them, the vast majority of them are very when they do the strangulation and knifing.
They're very aware of what they're doing.
Yeah. That's very
Because
personal. And that's when they're angry.
it has to fulfill the fantasy or the fetish.
Yes.
Family annihilators are actually categorized under a mass murderer category too.
Yeah. Unless they do 3 or 4 families in a row, then it's mass murder serial. I'm kidding.
But no, you're right.
Terrible joke.
No, you're actually
It would
correct.
be. It would be both.
serious?
It would be both.
Yeah.
Are you
It would be
serious?
both.
Did I call that?
Yes.
You are actually
It would
correct
be both.
because a mass murder takes place in a single location during a continuous period of time, and that would be a family annihilation. Would be considered a mass murder. Now, if somebody is a family annihilator as a serial killer as well, meaning that they do the family annihilations over and over again, that would categorize them as both a serial killer and a mass murderer.
The crazy thing is that would be Ted Bundy too, because with the sorority house, because he
It would
did
be
do
Richard Speck as well.
Yep. And in fact,
By the way, Richard Speck grew big boobs.
in fact,
Did actually legit grew boobs in prison.
in fact,
That's a macabre song. It actually is very true.
an example of a mass murderer would be Richard Speck.
Oh, there we go.
On July 14th, 1966, Speck systematically tortured, raped, and killed 8 student nurses from South Chicago Community Hospital. All of the murders were committed in a single night in the nurses' South Chicago townhouse, which had been converted into a student dormitory. By the way, there is an episode of American Horror Story Murder House that kind of mimics this.
You bring up Beth comment real fast.
Which one?
Look up Bruce MacArthur. Beth.
Look up Bruce MacArthur. He's a serial killer in Ontario. He put people in his clients' gardens from Rainbow Community because he didn't like them.
One of our oldest episodes.
That's interesting.
We covered him.
Was it about Bruce?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
It was one of the. Oh man, it must have been about 2 years ago. Maybe 3 years ago.
So we could always revisit him. Actually.
Oh yeah, we could absolutely revisit him.
We have human-sized mosquitoes right now.
Yeah.
I'm actually itching a mosquito bite right now. So
we're on the edge of our town, like near the fields and stuff like that. And there's a couple canals over here right now, and they're flowing, but there's still spots where it slows down where they can. Yeah, there's some mosquitoes growing over here, and they're bad.
Well,
right now.
let me tell you what happened to me today. Talking about getting stung. So I think
Oh,
I
no.
failed. I failed a little bit as a parent. So we're on the way. Me and Odd Daughter are on the way back from the store, and she is just, which I absolutely love, because you know how I love like that old 40s and 50s music, because it's nostalgic yet kind of uncanny valley kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was listening to the Fallout soundtrack with all the
Oh,
old
nice.
music and everything on it.
Yeah.
And so we were driving back, and I had to go pick up one of those little 15-gallon propane tanks, like for your grill. And
Yeah.
so we came back, and I had gotten out of the car, and I was just walking around, and I went to go install it, and I was thinking, this has been such a relaxing day. And then all of a sudden I feel pow right here on, like somebody hit me. And I looked down, and I realized it was a wasp. And so I'm
Oh,
over here going, ah, then it flies over in here and hits me on this side, pow. And so then at that point, all I could do was just like run off going, ah. And then Daughter, I just ran and left her. And all she could think of is like, I'm getting attacked by spiders. She's like, Mom, I thought you were being attacked by spiders. And I was like,
so wait a second. So
My mom ping ponged a wasp into my freaking towel and I got stung.
well, she eventually realized something bad was going on. She ran the other direction.
You know what? I was gonna say
bad.
what's hilarious about it is you ran off because you were getting hit by a wasp, and you ran off one way, and then Odd Daughter was like, I thought you were being attacked by spiders, so I was leaving you alone.
I know, but it made me feel so bad because I didn't say run or anything. I was just like, ah!
Oh, I did the whole Tommy Boy thing one day. We were
With the skunks?
with the skunks, though. It was all of a sudden we were walking in a neighborhood where there's a lot of skunks. No, look. If
This
you've
is
never,
hilarious.
it's hilarious, but if you've never been sprayed by a skunk before, or sprayed near, or even been
I've
near a
smelt 'em.
dead skunk, like even going near them, that smell gets on you. Just going
Yeah.
near them. And I lived on a farm for the longest time, so you learn to fear skunks. And when I even caught a whiff of it, I was all, move it now. I was
He
like, run,
basically
run,
shoved
run.
me out of the way, and I had dogs with me.
I was like, nope. I was like, get him out of here now.
And I
Look,
just walked
that'll
normal.
happen down here in the South. Like you can be driving along, especially if you're like in a really rural area, and like say you have your air conditioning on, and you pass through like where there has been one, and it is sprayed for whatever reason, and that stuff just comes up through your air conditioner, and it takes days for that smell to get out.
Had to get rid of shoes because the skunks would come up to our fence, and the dogs would bark at them. So they would spray the dogs, and then that spray is like it goes out a ways, and I simply just walked through it. And like the morning after, not when it happened, I walked through the ground where it was at, and then all of a sudden I was like, "What the hell?" And it's on my shoes. I had to throw them away because the smell never gets out.
Isn't it tomato juice,
Yeah.
and buttermilk or something like that?
Tomato juice, and anything that's really acidic, but like tomato juice is real good for it. But it gets rid of the pungentness. Yeah, it gets rid of that real strong stench, but it lingers for days. It's gross.
Yeah, it is a gross, and it's a smell that's hard to like.
Oh yeah,
it burns.
describe.
I will say that much. It does burn.
Yeah.
But I was still laughing because like they were literally just minding their own business, walking around being skunks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Skunks are asshole even when they walk around. If they see you and
they were just like
wasps.
Yeah,
Wasps are assholes too.
They kind of just looked at us and were like, "What the hell is his problem?"
Look, cute skunks on YouTube do the whole stamping thing, all this other stuff.
They really do stomps.
But the vast majority of them, you won't even see it when they stomp. All of a sudden, you're just sprayed. They're dicks.
He says having actually not been sprayed, but stepping
exactly. I said the day after. I didn't say I walked in it. It was on the ground.
That's why I said you stepped in it.
Oh, I was like, yeah, it was on my feet, like on my shoes. It wasn't like I got rid of them. Like, oh my God, it was gross.
All right. So Terry Lynn Nichols is a mass murderer convicted of conspiring with Timothy McVeigh to blow up the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City on April 19th, 1995. The bombing resulted in the deaths of 168 people, including children. Nichols was given a life sentence after the jury deadlocked on the death penalty. He then received 162 consecutive life terms on federal charges of murder. I guess it's
That's a lot.
I feel like it's just like,
why would they? Why don't they just say we're putting you to death?
yeah, I mean, it's
look,
that many consecutive life terms really just like is more, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's almost as if they gave him a life term for every single person that was killed.
Well, yeah, but there's a word I'm looking for here. I'm just drawing a blank on
Overkill?
Yeah, very much. Look,
it's like,
deserved.
No, that's not what I'm looking for though. It's basically like for show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but basically for show.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I get that basically they're giving justice to as many people as they can by giving them the consecutive life sentences. Yeah. And so you can say so-and-so, or for the death of so-and-so, we give you this. For the death of so-and-so, we give you this. Ceremonial, maybe? I don't know.
I understand. Yeah, no. And you got to think too, I'm not familiar with the laws in Oklahoma, but
exactly.
you know, a death sentence, I'm not a death sentence, I'm sorry. A life in prison sentence is not, depending on the state, not normally your whole entire life in prison. Like you are usually up for parole after a certain amount of time. And so it could have been, they gave him the 162 consecutive, because they'll do consecutive or concurrent. Concurrent, all 62 would run at the same time. Consecutive means that they would, once one ran out, the other one would go into place. So it could be they're making sure he just never got out.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know,
well, if they don't want to, if they want to make sure he doesn't, well, I don't think they
should have just said without possibility of parole.
Well, I was going to say they don't have the death penalty there, but if they don't want to make sure he gets out, just, you know, there you go. You killed all these people. You did this and that. And
they did have the death penalty, but they got deadlocked on it. So they didn't give him the death penalty. They just gave him life.
Yeah.
How do you get deadlocked on that? That is so weird.
I don't know. People feel so weird about I don't know.
Yeah.
So McVeigh was executed on June 11th, 2001 after being found guilty of detonating a bomb hidden in a truck parked in front of the building.
Yeah.
Which we mostly knew.
Yeah.
But those of you who have not been long enough. Fertilizer. If you ever see anybody that's not a farmer buying a whole lot of fertilizer.
But before the Oklahoma City bombing, you could buy like 50-pound bags of that stuff everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, but if you're a farmer.
What?
No, I mean, they just sold it to feed and seed for anybody. Anybody could buy it.
Was it Ruby Ridge? Was his inspiration, or not inspiration? He felt because of Ruby Ridge.
Partially.
Because of that, yeah, right, yeah.
Partially, yeah, I mean, Ruby Ridge was mentioned.
He was really pissed off about the Ruby Ridge and
the
feeling that the FBI and the government overstepped their bounds on that. Which that was a fucked up case.
Oh, they did. Well, the crazy thing was, and then Ruby Ridge happened because of Koresh.
Yeah, it was shortly. Well, it was this whole like crackdown on what they felt like people that were like hoarding guns or something. I don't know. But Ruby Ridge was kind of fucked up.
Look, their personal beliefs are one thing, but you guys people have to understand what the government did there, and it's
wrong.
Yeah, it
absolutely
was very wrong.
Same with, I'm sorry, but same with Waco.
Oh yeah, look, they ethically, Koresh was an asshole. He was a douche.
Look, but there's a difference between legality and morality.
Yes. Everything.
And there were better ways, I think, to go about doing that.
The crazy thing, actually, and what it actually inspired all that, what got the government so scared with Colts and everything was Jim Jones, man. After that, after they went and killed a sitting senator, they just killed him.
Senator Ryan.
That's when the government went the next Colt. You knew they were really going to do that. It just was one of those things that really was going to say, no, we're going to go in and keep this from coming to our way, basically.
Isn't it funny
that they don't go after Beat Boop?
Yeah, they don't. Not one bit. They
don't go after Beat Boop. I don't understand it.
I don't understand why they don't go after Beat Boop.
Information farming. That's why.
Beep boop.
Probably.
But I find it amusing that somebody called us a cult as if it was like,
Oh,
oh my God, you're a
It's
cult.
like,
And we were like, it's in our
dude,
name,
it's
bitch.
actually in our name. You think that's going to us?
You think
like-
that's really an insult?
it's like that D-bag over on that bitch 3 place when he was like, "Oh, the bunny cunts." I was like, "Oh, thank you guys for sending this to us. Yeah, we're gonna own this now. We are the bunny cunts.
I'll
Here
be
you
a bunny
go."
cunt. It's okay. Little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, picking up the douchebags and bopping them on the head.
Fuck you.
So let's get into spree killers.
Spree killers.
Spree killers, sometimes referred to as rampage killers, murder 2 or more victims, but at more than one location. Although their murders occur in separate locations, their spree is considered a single event because there is no cooling off period between the murders. Differentiation between mass murderers and spree killers and serial killers is the source of ongoing debate among criminologists. While many experts agree with the general description of a spree killer, the term is often dropped and mass or serial murder is used in its place. Robert Pollin is an example of a spree killer. In October of 1975, he killed 1 student and wounded 5 others in an Ottawa high school after earlier raping and stabbing a 17-year-old friend to death.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Starkweather was a spree killer. Between December 1957 and January 1958, Starkweather, with his 14-year-old girlfriend by his side, killed 11 people in Nebraska and Wyoming. Starkweather was executed by electrocution 17 months after his conviction. That's how they got to do it. They got to get that done fast. If you're going to do it,
Well, and a spree killer normally too is a killer of like opportunity. They're not really like focusing in on a certain type. They don't have a certain victimology other than this person is just in the wrong place at the wrong fucking time.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I was saying was like with the execution process, they got to get it done that fast. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
There
is a. Go ahead. Sorry.
I do have one more spree killer to mention, and it seems to be an item of contention a lot lately, but this is something that people need to remember. Do you guys remember when Jennifer Hudson's family was murdered?
Oh, that was brutal. Yeah, but yeah.
And we all know why it's a subject of contention, right?
If you want to find out why it's a subject of contention, go over to our
Patreon later.
No, our Patreon later. Absolutely, go spend money. Go give us money at Patreon, but go over to our Twitter or X account.
Yeah, you'll find out.
BPBDC Collective.
Why it's
I'm sorry. What is it on there again? How's it come up?
Cult Psycho.
Cult Psycho. Find us at Cult Psycho.
Cult_Psycho.
Yep.
Yeah.
William Balfour is the person who murdered Jennifer Hudson's entire family. He actually fits the spree killer pattern.
Yeah.
So real fast, there is a missing link, and I whispered his name with this. Richard Chase. Richard Chase is kind of both a spree killer and a serial killer, and the reason being is that he did start his killings happen over a span of a couple weeks, maybe about a month or so, but the last part of his killings, like it literally, he went on an actual spree killing over a couple days.
Yeah,
like Starkweather was both a serial killer and a spree killer.
Yeah,
and was also with a 14-year-old.
Yes.
So now we're going to get into serial killers. Serial killers murder 3 or more victims. That is another thing of contention because sometimes it's said 2 or more.
Mary Bell, though, on the other hand,
it's quite often considered to be 2 or more now, not just 3 or more. I've always thought it was 3 or more, but again,
they're and I think there's actually more than just the number of people that are killed. That kind of goes into the psychopathy of a serial killer. So.
Oh yeah. Well, so each victim is killed on a separate occasion. Unlike mass murders or spree killers, serial killers usually select their victims, have cooling off periods between murders, and plan their crimes carefully. Some serial killers travel widely to find their victims, such as like Israel Keyes or Ted Bundy, but others remain in the same general geographic area. Serial killers often demonstrate specific patterns that can be easily identified by police investigators so that they can match them up with, hey, this pattern matches this one that we saw over here. In fact, Just the other day, there was a second body found in MacArthur Park in the pond area, and they are believing that this is the work of a serial killer.
Well, yeah, because both bodies
Well,
had the
and
same.
you know the thing about serial killers actually like operating in the same general geographic area is I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, but in many cases, the first murder is usually the one closest to where the actual predator lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Unless they thought it out and decided to do the opposite.
True. Unless they were highly organized, and we're going to get into organized and disorganized here in a minute.
Oh yeah. Well, serial killers often demonstrate specific patterns, you know, like we said. What motivates serial killers remains a mystery, kind of. However, their behavior often fits a specific subtype. So the below definition should be considered as may
Like what we're going to go over.
Yeah, may include, but are not limited to, due to the evolving nature of this art of defining the mind of the killer, which is profiling.
You know,
Yeah.
What's insane though, like before I just clicked in my head right now, was the ending of American Psycho, and it took me forever to figure it out that he already had been caught, and everything that you're watching is literally his embellished story. None of it. He was a killer, but none of that happened. It was just him sitting there with the detective, lying about it. And that leads me into with the whole. Aside from Kemper, the vast the profile we're trying to get into, they use Kemper mostly with was it Mindhunters? Whatever, I can't remember their names, but yeah, they really went to Kemper, and all the Kemper tapes, with the vast majority of them that you find on YouTube, is from them. You know, over time, and he inadvertently, or not inadvertently, I don't know, he was having his ego stroked, being that he's a narcissist, but at the same time, he didn't really embellish a lot of it. He told everything, the gory details that he did. It was and
that I think for Kemper was even kind of like this whole power he had over the interviewees, which that's fine. You know, a lot of times they would set up interviews just to give the person that they're interviewing what they want. Like Manson, they had to make sure that they were set up to where they were always lower than Manson. Manson always had to be higher, whether it's sitting on the table or sitting at the top of on the top of the back of the chair.
Did they give him a high chair?
Booster seats.
Please tell me they give him a high chair.
But that's how you would get Manson to talk. Whereas like Sirhan, when he did the one interview with the BU or the BAU, the BAU, he had to be facing the door versus his back to the door, you know, because of his background in like as an assassin.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, Sirhan has been released.
Oh yeah, that I can't believe they Newsom let that happen.
August 27th, 2021. He was released.
He's a free man right now.
How old is he now?
I'm not sure.
He'd have to be pretty old.
He's 80.
Okay.
Regardless, he should have been. Sorry, you should have been put under the jail, all that other stuff. Yeah, but nope. Good old Newsom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yay.
Yay.
Never thought I'd miss Moonbeam.
He's right. Did you? I mean, sitting there from your perspective in Georgia, Odd Mother, would even seeing that?
I'm glad you guys live where you live. If you had to live in California, I want to come visit, but I definitely don't want to live there.
Oh yeah. I mean, could you imagine there was I could someone looking on the outside or looking from the inside or on the outside in? Could you agree that Jerry Brown is a million times better than Newsom?
I have an Oingo Boingo song stuck in my head right now.
Oh my God. I was like, and I didn't like Jerry Brown one bit. And I'm like, I'm
sorry. I'd be screaming, fuck off, as I'm leaving California.
Yeah. Oh, being that I lived here so long, I honestly do. After all the stuff Newsom has done, I'm like, wow, Jerry Brown was a saint, and he was literally a constitutionalist. He wasn't.
And that, that state used to be beautiful. Like, I love traveling and I love going to see historical things, but there's certain cities that I would not go to at the moment because they are so freaking trashed.
Oh yeah.
Or they have torn down historical monuments and things like that. Regardless of wherever you sit on the fence about monuments, the point is when you destroy history, that is no better than like who was it? Over there in Afghanistan when they blew up that Buddha.
Oh, was it ISIS?
Yeah, ISIS. To me, that's
ISIS.
just ignorance. That is ignorance. When you can't use history as a teaching tool, then you don't understand history.
And he's ran off all our good serial killers.
But don't get me off on a tangent.
It's okay. I've been over here singing Oingo Boingo in my head because he said outside looking in, and my brain's all, I'm just an alien through and through, trying to make believe I'm you.
Look, guys, if you want to hear about our tangents and everything, head over to our X, our X, Cult Psycho, Cult_Psycho.
Yep.
Now I gotta listen to Oingo Boingo when we're done here.
All right.
I love Oingo Boingo. So there are 4 basic types of serial killers: power and control. This type of serial killer experiences complete sexual gratification from the domination and humiliation of the victim. The killer is a true sociopath and lives by his own or psychopath and lives by his own personal set of rules and guidelines. Many of the famous serial killers we have seen in history and in the media would fall under this type of serial killer. Visionary. This type of serial killer is compelled by voices or visions they experience and are considered psychotic. These voices and visions compel them to kill certain kinds of people. Mission. This type of serial killer feels the need or duty to kill certain types of people or classes of people, such as religious or racial groups or prostitutes. This type of serial killer is not considered psychotic, actually. Hedonistic. This type of serial killer makes a strong connection between personal violence and sexual gratification. This type of killer can also be described as a lust or thrill killer. This killer receives pleasure from the act and has eroticized the experience. They generally take the time to torture and mutilate their victims. This type of serial killer is often portrayed in fictional books and movies because it's more interesting.
And they can be a combination of all 3 of those or all 4 of those, because remember, this may include, but is not limited due to the fact that the human brain every person is different. So you could be a culmination of several different issues.
It's basically, I was going to say something terrible. It's like, well, whatever's going on in your head the minute you finally get your first boner with a guy. That's how it works. If you're into Transformers and Legos, you're going to be okay. I'm kidding.
The FBI has identified 3 distinct types of serial killers based on the way that they carry out their murders. Understanding which category of serial killer fits into can make it easier to investigate their crimes and how to bring them to justice. So there's another one here. The medical killer. Although this type of killer is very rare, there have been some people who have become involved in the medical industry to carry out their nefarious deeds. This type of killer feels that they are shrouded because it isn't uncommon for people to pass in the hospital.
It's also a lot of these the angels of mercy or death.
Angel of death.
There you go. Those are one, and
those
they
would
also
be the medical killers. Yeah.
They also tend to be women too.
A lot of them do tend to be women, actually.
There's quite a few that are men though as well.
Yes. There are, yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're usually highly intelligent and know how to carefully and cleverly conceal their murders. If it appears that a victim has died a natural death, there will be no reason for anyone to suspect foul play and search for a guilty party. Few doctors in history have managed to kill dozens of people before others began to catch on. There was one nurse who was injecting patients, and it was babies, with insulin.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
weird because the medical killer has some really screwed up ideas of how they're helping.
Yeah.
Like some of them, I think honestly do believe that they're helping. Whether it's they just feel, I mean, it could be something as simple as they feel this world is a terrible place and that these adults shouldn't be having these babies, so he's going to free these babies by, you know, unaliving them. I mean,
Did
like just
you
ridiculous kind of things
talk
like
about
that.
Kevorkian, Kisa?
Oh, that guy I can't think of. Kevorkian, yeah. Probably.
Kevorkian.
Did you, Odd Mother, did you listen to the new one of the most recent Dan Cummings or Time Suck episodes where they were talking? I can't remember the lady he was talking about, but postpartum depression. The vast majority of women who have that and go through with it legit believe they are saving their children from like hell and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's
they
a different
legit
form of
believe they're
postpartum.
yeah, they legit believe they are saving them, and they never get out of that.
Well, that's actually
those are few and far between.
It's actually postpartum triggered schizophrenia.
Okay.
And I actually know of a couple people that their parents or whatever had actually got triggered into schizophrenia through birth.
Yeah. A lot of people
Really?
end up getting help for it and they get out of it and they're fine, but there's those few women who do it and it's
I'm talking about the ones that are they're stuck with it for life. The
Yeah.
pregnancy actually triggered schizophrenia. It's
And
weird
that's
that I
what
know more
gets
than
so
one.
complicated with a lot of this stuff because, you know, some of these people can fall in several different categories.
Oh yeah. So the organized killer, this type of serial killer, what?
I was going to say these are the ones that I like more to read about. Like a lot of the horror novels that I read are all the hedonistic killers, but these are the ones that are the most interesting to me.
So
but did you know that some I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Some organized killers or some people that you think may be organized killers can often be much more disorganized.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like they can actually fall in the list of disorganized killers, or they may be organized up to the actual commission of the crime and then become very disorganized.
Wouldn't that be a lot of the killers who they start off disorganized, but then they start learning?
Well, there's also the disorganized killer that it's because of their IQ level. They're disorganized because they just don't have the
IQ.
The intelligence to actually do it.
Well, let's get into the differences of both of those.
So,
sorry.
This type of serial killer, so the organized serial killer is the most difficult to identify and capture. They're usually highly intelligent, well organized to the point of being meticulous. Every detail of the crime is planned out well in advance.
Yep.
The killer takes every precaution to make sure they leave no incriminating evidence behind. It's common for this type of psychopath to watch potential victims for several days to find someone they consider to be a good target.
Mm-hmm.
Once the victim is chosen, the killer will kidnap them, often through some sort of ploy designed to gain their sympathy and take them to another location to commit the murder. Does that sound familiar to you?
Oh, BTK. BTK.
And guys, if you ever got cornered, never go to a second location.
No, fight. If you
fight, and it doesn't matter if you get. Yeah.
I was going to say, if this is your last day on Earth and you're cornered by someone like this, you might as well go out fighting.
Go out swinging.
Exactly. Do not ever go to a second location because they'll never see you again.
There's another thing with these guys, and a lot of them, a good majority of them, when the victims fought back, they left them alone and left.
Yes.
Because they don't want the fight. They want to be
not in control
of
the situation. Yes.
Yeah.
We do have a poignant question right now. Kisa would like to know, would the Zodiac killer be an organized killer?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
He's probably the
pinnacle.
Well, see, the thing with what's really
besides
interesting
BTK.
Yeah.
These
BTK
guys
was extremely organized.
Oh yeah, the organized killers, they love the cat and mouse game too. They want the attention, but they don't, obviously they don't want to go to jail, but they want people to know about it.
Yes.
Beth said, nobody has lost their puppy. Do not help them.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that's how somebody would get me. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's something to tell children. And I've told our daughter that. I said, an adult does not need your help for anything.
No. An adult does not need your help to find their puppy. An adult does not need your help for anything.
That's right.
Not
And
even
it's
if you're
okay
across the road.
to act a fool and scream and yell if you feel in danger
Oh yeah.
at that,
Stranger danger.
at that particular time. Yeah.
And
Act
then
a fool.
sweep the legs.
Yep.
So again, once the victim is chosen, the killer will kidnap them, often through some sort of ploy designed to gain their sympathy. That's why I mentioned Bundy.
Yeah.
With his sling and his fake cast and all of that, so his crutches.
Bundy got a girl to leave a clothing store.
Yeah.
Because he said, I'm a cop and I need you to come with me downtown.
Yeah.
They're very manipulative and very charismatic.
Oh
he
yeah.
literally picked her out, knew that he could victimize her and said, I'm a cop and you need to come with me.
She figured it out, but
she got lucky to get out. She fought and got out.
She was an officer's daughter. A police officer's daughter.
It was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You didn't think to say, I need to see a badge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they take them to another location to commit the murder.
Yeah.
Once the person has been killed, the perpetrator will usually take precautions to ensure that the body is not found until they want it to be. A criminal like this usually takes great pride in what they consider to be their work and tend to pay close attention to news stories about their deeds. One of their motivating factors may be to stump the law enforcement officers who are trying to solve their crime, or even taunting them.
What was Bundy's, his playground or whatever he called it out in the woods?
His playground that he would go, zhuzh up their hair and their makeup.
Oh, and this went on for, he would do it for like weeks, if not months.
Yeah.
And remember, he did not embalm them. So.
He never did it with a living girl. He only did it with the
No, he had
a girlfriend
and fiance.
Yeah, he had those, but no, I'm saying for the most part,
she had no idea where he was dipping his wick, did she?
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, for the most part, he was a necrophile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the disorganized killer, these individuals rarely plan out the deaths of their victims in any way. Most often, the people that they kill are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This type of serial killer appears to strike at random whenever an opportunity arises. They take no steps to cover any of the signs of their crime and tend to move regularly to avoid being captured. Disorganized killers usually have low IQs or extremely antisocial. They rarely have close friends or family. They do not like to stay in one place too long. These killers are prone to have no recollection of their deeds or to confess that they were motivated by voices in their heads or any kind of imaginary source. One of the people that I was going to bring up, but it doesn't really do the whole moving regularly thing. Joachim Kroll. One of the reasons why he wasn't caught and 6 other people went down for his murders was because once they were done, it was out of his mind. That's it.
Dan Cummings ruined that for me. Oh, dear God.
But
that episode time suck. I laughed so hard.
Technically, he did move around a lot, but it wasn't moving around to avoid being captured. He honestly just didn't care once it was done.
Yeah, this is also too. It was also deep
I
was going to say this is also deep Cold War too, and
but
it was Eastern Bloc, I think, wasn't it? And like
Germany,
the East. He was on the other side of the Iron Curtain, and they just didn't pay him. And it was combination thereof. I'm sorry,
He one of the things with him too is he was known to have a very low IQ. He wasn't close to his family or friends. He had very few friends, if any. He maybe had like one possible romantic link other than Betsy the cow.
I forgot about that. Oh my God. I can tell you this right now. Go and listen to this episode of Time Suck. That was the first time Dan Cummings, like I actually was looking up one of his fake stories or whatever he made up, and just
he got
the
us.
Tangent. He got me so good.
Like, is that possible?
Copious amounts of
no, that part was
that
true.
part was
the
real,
copious amounts of semen is true.
Yeah, but it was just how he said it. I mean, Dan Cummings is a master.
I just loved how he was like, he's a cow fucker, and I can actually say that, cow fucker.
It's so hilarious.
Well, you know something
oh no, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I have read before with the disorganized killer that a lot of times when they kill their victim, it's because they want that. Is because it's to shut them up.
Yeah. Oh,
Usually
yeah.
they're crying too much, or they're yelling, or
They're
they're,
getting
you know,
annoying.
whatever, they're being annoying. It's to shut them up and make them quiet.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Well,
But
I
an
mean,
organized killer can go into a disorganized murder. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like, you might have an organized killer that will plan everything before and everything after, but the killing itself may look like a disorganized killer, like the person was stabbed, 147 times.
yeah,
That's more
Well-
like berserk mode of the organized
Mhm.
killer,
that is
where
when
they
they,
devolve.
that's when they, that is actually when they actually, yeah, it's the whole, they need their fix right then and there.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
because
Mhm.
a lot of all serial killers can be compared to addicts who just can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, look at the lipstick killer.
Oh yeah.
Look at what he said on the wall.
Mhm. And that's usually where they make their mistake. Because usually when you stab somebody 147 times, you're going to wind up cutting yourself.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
the blood is going to get on the handle. Your hand's going to slip. You're going to cut yourself. The DNA,
Yep.
your DNA is going to end up in their DNA. There's going to be
Yep.
cross contamination. There are going to be fingerprints at that point. You've gone into berserk mode and you are no longer organized. You have devolved into disorganization.
Into disorganization.
Yeah.
And we can go into that in Patreon, because I do have a little bit about like some of the touch DNA and all that kind of stuff
Oh yeah.
if we
Mhm.
want to. So
Do we want to do?
let's go to nature versus. Let's go through the types of killers. So we did
Nature versus nurture.
disorganized.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Do you want to go
nature
through?
versus nurture is pretty long. We could take that over to Patreon if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Wait, do you want to go to? Do you want to do nature versus nurture over there?
Yes.
Yes. Because we've already been 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh yeah. It's
Oh,
time
wow.
to get over to Patreon. I got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, excuse me one moment. I didn't mean to burp.
Wow. We went on. This went on forever. This was. It didn't even
Yeah.
seem like the time went by.
I know.
So this is the time, guys, for you to head on over to http://patreon.com patreon.com/the PBDC Collective Inc. Go on over there, sign up for our $5 tier, and you will get the opportunity to see the rest of this, which we do get a little bit more brutal on.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's gonna be
And
a lot of stuff.
we'll be having content throughout the summer. It may
Yeah.
not be on the same schedules, but we'll have exclusive content over there during the
Yep.
summer. So since this is our season finale until the spoopy season comes.
Spoopy.
Yep.
Spoopy.
Spoople.
For the record, Chit Chat has 2 more episodes
Mhm.
coming back next week.
Yeah, we're gonna be at No Values this weekend.
And well, I kind of forgot when Wednesday happened. I'm not gonna lie. I was so off track this week. I have been completely off track. So thank you to the understanding of my guests on that one.
Mhm.
But my season finale will not be this coming Wednesday, but the next Wednesday.
Mhm.
And then we'll be bringing it back a little bit before spoopy season.
By the way, guys,
Spoopy season.
you want to see my Vans that I bought today?
They're awesome.
I'm not going to tell what they look like, but you got to go over to Patreon right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yay,
I want
Vans.
I want a pair.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.